Hello YouTube, this is DVD Review Studios here, and today I'm going to be doing a Blu-ray and DVD update for October 2015. So, beginning with the Blu-rays, first up we have The Great Gatsby starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire. Pretty fair adaptation from the original novel. I've not read the novel for about 4 or 5 years, and this was definitely a great little refresher on the overall Great Gatsby storyline, and I thought the acting in this was superb, especially from Tobey Maguire, which he definitely was the superior actor, even in comparison to Leonardo DiCaprio, which is surprising. But the film itself was fantastic, even though it does have kind of a low rating on IMDb. Some scenes are a little bit slow, but that's just really the pace of the overall storyline, so you just got to go with it, to be honest. But it was a great film, very enjoyable. There's the disc, The Great Gatsby, and if anyone is interested, there is the UV copy, which I believe is still brand new. So, first come, first served on that, of course. So that's The Great Gatsby, definitely worth a watch, and superb acting from both Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio. So that's The Great Gatsby. Next up is The Fighter, starring Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale. Pretty enjoyable film, to be honest. It did begin a little bit slow, and I wasn't really fond of the two characters that Bale and Wahlberg portray, but it definitely grew on me towards the end, and I really enjoyed the final fight that Mark Wahlberg was in, and overall it was just a really great story, and the relationship between Mark Wahlberg's character and Christian Bale's character was fantastic. And overall, I really did enjoy this. I didn't think that I would actually see a film with both of those actors in together, but it was really enjoyable, great chemistry between them, and definitely worth a watch. So that is The Fighter. Next up we have Gran Torino, which honestly I laughed all the way through. There's some terrific one-liners from Clint Eastwood. Superb directing, really great cinematography. The storyline is fantastic and very gripping, and the overall narrative was fantastic as well, since of course Clint Eastwood is a great film director, and overall for an actor in this he did a superb job. So definitely an enjoyable film, and of course we have the Gran Torino in the background, which is a fantastic looking car. So that is the Gran Torino film. Next up is American Horror Story Series 2 Asylum on Blu-ray, which I did have the first series on DVD, and honestly did not enjoy it. I had watched half of it when I first showed it in my previous update, and I did finish it off, and it wasn't as good, to be honest, but I ended up getting a Netflix trial and watched the first 3 episodes of Asylum, and really did enjoy those. It was definitely a lot better than the first few episodes of the Murder House series, the first series, so I would honestly recommend skipping the first series if you are wanting to get into American Horror Story and just check out Asylum. A little bit far-fetched in some areas, but definitely a great cast, including the actor that portrays Dr. Arthur Ogden, who, to be honest, this TV series is beneath him. His acting qualities are superb. Of course, Evan Peters is fantastic in this, portraying the character of Kit Walker, which that character is a lot better than Tate Langdon in my opinion, and just overall it's really enjoyable. The Blu-ray set is a free disc, and I might do an in-depth review of the series since I did quite enjoy it. So that is American Horror Story Asylum. Next up is Monsters University, a very, very, very worthy prequel to what Monsters Inc. is, since Monsters Inc. is my favourite Pixar film, and this really did add a huge expansion to what the monster world is and how we know it from the very first film. So it was great to see a young version of Sully and Mike Wazowski, and honestly I really enjoyed every single joke in this. It really is quite a humorous film, and even though it's not as good as some Pixar films, it definitely has a lot of heart to it, and I overall really did enjoy seeing a huge relationship build up between Sully and Mike. So that's Monsters University, definitely a worthy prequel to the original film and worth a watch if you have not seen it. So that's Monsters University. Next up is the Real Heroes edition of The Big Lebowski. This is apparently a limited edition, but I highly doubt that, which I've spoken about this film a couple of times in the past few videos, and I've been meaning to upgrade it to Blu-ray and finally have, and honestly I cannot get over how fantastic this comedy is. So many great characters, and rewatching this I recently noticed how superb Julianne Moore's character is in this, but of course the main storyline does revolve around Jeff Bridges' character of the Dude, and of course we have John Goodman as Walter, which honestly those two characters are a fantastic pair. And yeah, overall if you've not seen The Big Lebowski, it's definitely worth a watch. It's a great 90s comedy, and then we have a little limited edition art card inside the little Blu-ray pack, so definitely worth a watch. Really great film, hilarious comedy, laughed all the way through. So that's The Big Lebowski. Next up we have Ashens and the Quest for the Game Child, which if you are unaware of the YouTuber Ashens, he is a really funny guy and definitely worth checking out. But the movie itself is just a low-budget British film which actually made it to a DVD and Blu-ray release, which is really surprising considering it was actually funded via fans of the YouTube channel. And of course, using crowdfunding is not necessarily something that will bring to a Blu-ray and DVD release, but to my surprise, this actually got a release. And overall, it's a really funny film, but you do need to be a fan of the YouTuber Ashens in order to actually understand the majority of the jokes and such in this film. But the YouTuber himself, go subscribe to him. He's a really great guy, really funny, does so many great videos, and this was definitely a great film from him. It stars Warwick Davis and a couple of other British actors, and of course stars Stuart Ashen himself. And then we have the discs, which this is actually a double play. We have the DVD and the Blu-ray, or rather the Blu-ray and the DVD disc, which are pretty much identical. And yeah, so definitely worth a watch if you're a fan of Ashens, but of course you will need to check out his content in order to understand the film. Next up for the Blu-rays, or finally rather, we have the In-Betweeners movie, which this is also a Blu-ray and DVD edition, which I really do not like this film, to be honest. The original Channel 4 TV series of the In-Betweeners is superb. Great comedy all the way, and overall just really does highlight great British comedy throughout, but with this, it's not as funny in my opinion. It does try to be funny, and that just makes it very unfunny. I recently watched the sequel online because I just was not prepared to buy it, and that was a lot funnier than this, which really did surprise me, to be honest. But I'm not really a huge fan of the In-Betweeners films, so definitely check out the TV series. And if you do want to see more of these four, then definitely check out the films, but I wouldn't really recommend them if you are not a fan, say, of the In-Betweeners TV series itself. So that is the In-Betweeners movie. Now onto the DVDs. Okay, so moving on to the DVDs, first up we have one of the greatest movies of all time, and that is The Shawshank Redemption, starring Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins. This movie is stunning. It really is one of the most perfect films of all time, and this really should have been a movie ideally purchased on Blu-ray, but it was super cheap on DVD, and I thought, why not? I mean, I've never owned this movie before, seen it multiple times. I really do love this film. I love the characters of Red and Andy Dufresne, and the storyline. It's a great storyline about a prison breakout, but more importantly, it's a storyline about friendship, and the characters of Red and Andy Dufresne, you really cannot go wrong. It's such a great friendship, and the movie itself is stunning. Just such an impeccable film, and even though I should have really purchased this on Blu-ray, it's fine on DVD. I've watched this about 3 or 4 times in the past few weeks, which I've owned this for only a couple of weeks, and even though I'm usually against watching a movie multiple times after watching it for, of course, quite a while, this is a movie that really does bring quite a lot of pleasure and enjoyment, and really is just something I would recommend watching over and over, just to gain a little bit more of a perception on either the characters, the storyline. It's got so much to offer, and the fact that this movie is really slow-paced is great. I love watching this movie, so that's The Shawshank Redemption. Next up is another movie I've watched multiple times recently, and that is Fight Club, starring Ed Norton and Brad Pitt. This movie you cannot go wrong with either. I really do love the character that Ed Norton portrays in this, and I will watch any movie starring, of course, Ed Norton. He's just such a great actor in my opinion, and just overall a really charismatic guy, and in this movie in particular, I love his character. Even though, of course, the twist at the end really does kind of mess up the overall character that Ed Norton plays, this is an amazing film. Really is just stunning all the way through. Very enjoyable, and if you have not seen this, again, like The Shawshank Redemption, worth watching multiple times. A lot of enjoyment comes from this film, and there's the disc with an amazing image of Ed Norton on there. So that is the Fight Club. Really amazing film. Next up is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, my favourite Jack Nicholson movie. I love this film so much. It's so emotional, and of course stars a great cast. I love all the patients in this film in the asylum, and in particular I do love the Chief, which of course I will not give any more information about that character, but if you haven't seen this film, you will of course know what I'm talking about. The film itself is amazing. If you have not seen this, once again, another film worth watching multiple times. I really did enjoy watching this. I've seen this twice recently, recently, and of course it's a great little addition, a double disc set, and the nurse was a great character in this, and McMurphy, played by Jack Nicholson, is one of my favourite characters of all time. I loved this film, and it's just overall a really stunning movie to watch. So that is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Next up is Steven Spielberg's Minority Report, which of course revolves around the future of policing and how you can now arrest people for future murders, which really is a great concept. However, this movie didn't really impress me. I'm not a huge fan of Tom Cruise, but it was not Tom Cruise's fault. I thought the delivery in this film was quite poor, but it is an enjoyable film, and overall I really do love Steven Spielberg's films usually, but this one just did not feel as good. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't great, and it wasn't really up to standard. But Tom Cruise in this, I could stand him in this film. I'm not really a huge fan of his, but in this film in particular, I thought it was great. So that's Minority Report, great film, decent, but not necessarily Steven Spielberg's best work. So that is Minority Report. Next up is a TV series which I recently started watching, and that is Prey. This aired on ITV, and I think it was in 2013, and I did only catch a couple of episodes. It's a 3-part drama, and I think I only watched about 1.5 episodes. It was very forgettable, and honestly, I was only interested because it stars my favourite British actor, John Sim. But aside from that, there's really not much to this. The storyline is a little bit far-fetched. It stars John Sim as a police officer framed for a crime he did not commit, and the storyline is basically him escaping from a prisoner transport vehicle. As you can see, the vehicle is turned upside down in a very, very ridiculous collision. And aside from that little point, the TV series rather itself is pretty good. I mean, the delivery is very poor, but overall it does have quite a nice premise, and of course John Sim is a pleasure to watch. And what intrigued me to pick this movie up is the fact that it's actually been commissioned for a second series that does not star John Sim at all. Instead, it stars Philip Glenister, which is usually seen in projects that John Sim is involved in, so I'm quite intrigued. So that is the first series of Prey, 3-part drama that's definitely worth giving a watch just for John Sim. Next up is Dredd, the Judge Dredd movie, which came out a couple of years ago. I've never really been a fan of the Judge Dredd character, and of course I'm not really familiar with the character anyway. The comic books do not intrigue me, but this movie itself was actually quite enjoyable. I believe this is not the first adaptation, or a film adaptation rather, of Judge Dredd, which I believe there was another one that was absolutely god-awful, but this one, it's got an average rating, and is a pretty average film, to be honest. It's got quite a lot of nice cinematography, very artsy with the gore in this film, but other than that, it was a decent film to watch. I did quite enjoy this. Very short and to the point, and of course a great little concise film. So that is Dredd. Great little introduction to the Judge Dredd character for me personally. So that is Dredd. Next up is a film by Todd Phillips, which of course is known for the Hangover trilogy, and that is Due Date, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis. I'm not really a huge fan of Todd Phillips because his directing is very poor, but he does deliver quite fair comedies, to be honest, and this one was one of them. Many people have said this film is not very good, and to be fair, I do agree, but I did laugh at quite a lot of funny sequences in this. Of course, you can see how fantastic the chemistry is between Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis, which I wouldn't really associate Robert Downey Jr. playing a character in any of Todd Phillips' movies, but surprises do come, I suppose. And the film was quite enjoyable, not necessarily great. It wasn't really up to a good standard, but it was great for a decent comedy, so that is Due Date. And finally, to conclude this update, we have a fantastic film starring Kurt Russell. This is Big Trouble in Little China, which, if you have not seen this movie, it's a little bit strange, to be honest, and I had a difficulty watching this for the first time, but I did rewatch this because I didn't really follow the storyline as well, and I really do love this film. It's a great little martial arts film featuring, of course, Chinese culture, and overall it really is enjoyable. I love the character of Jack Burton, a very eccentric kind of truck driver, and of course he is against the evil, I think his face is on disc 2, there we go, the evil Lo Pan, which is a really great villain in this film, and this is a 2-disc special edition set, and also comes with a little booklet inside, which this is the Region 1 copy of the film. Wasn't really intentional to pick up the Region 1 version, but it was very cheap on eBay. I think it was £1.50, and overall the film itself, very enjoyable, and I've heard many great things about this film and was not disappointed one bit. So that is Big Trouble in Little China. So if you enjoyed this video, video, be sure to subscribe for more upcoming reviews and updates. I shall be doing, of course, another update in November, and I shall be doing a few reviews on things that I've recently shown in the next few videos. So be sure to subscribe, leave a like down below, and thanks for watching.